It is with a heavy heart that after about 3.5 to 4, maybe 4.5 years of service on my account, I am retiring my Arbiter, and we are going on to bigger and maybe better things. And we're going to be talking about that today. So I'm going to be talking about why I'm retiring her, who's replacing her, and what comes next essentially for my teams, especially in PvP. Why is she being retired, first of all? For anyone who might not know, let's go ahead and let's take a look at her kit. When we come into her skills, she has an increased attack on everybody for 2 turns, then fills the turn meters of all allies by 30%, heals all allies by 25% of their max HP if they have less than 50% HP. She has a buff decrease by 1 turn on her A2, she has a weaken on the A1, and then she has an AoE revive. Importantly though, she does have a speed aura in arena battles by 30%. Now, we've had awakenings come into the game since she was introduced, obviously, and these awakenings are incredibly strong. So, for example, at a 6-star awakening, you get an additional 15 speed, and then you're also strengthening your aura by 35% while weakening the enemy team's aura by 20%. Now, by the time you see this, because this is probably going up on like next Monday at this point, I'm recording it like a week in advance, I will have a video out on the channel where I rebuilt some champions, and towards the end of that video, it's like the 1-hour video that went up on the Friday before this, the end of that video I check and I see what the fastest possible champions on my account were from a bunch of different factions, and I can't even hit 400, man. It's depressing. It's my fastest champion, I think, is 388 on Lady Mikage, which is pretty crazy all things considered, and because of that, unfortunately, my Arbiter is just getting beaten in the speed race because she only has 369 speed. And if you've only been playing the game for a few months, you're probably like, well, 369 speed, that's fastest than like 3 of my champions combined. Yes, but when you're in late Gold 5 arena, when you're pushing live arena in Gold 3, nearing Gold 4 like I am, as a low spend player, these speeds are really not too much to write home about. So this is essentially showcase number 1 of why my Arbiter is being retired, is I just cannot get her fast enough. So the speed meta is essentially not a meta that I can participate in, which I'm kind of happy about because the speed meta sucks. Let's be honest, all right? And I've had gear on her like this flat stat chest plate that just hasn't been upgraded in 3 years of using this champion, and that's not for lack of trying. I just literally have not gotten better gear that would allow me to switch this chest plate, right? Same thing with a crit rate set of gauntlets. Because they triple rolled speed, they're still on her. This is absolutely insane, right? Like, this gear is not that good, and it's the best speed gear I have on my account because I don't spend a crap ton of money. So I can't get the champion fast enough. That's showcase number 1 for why we are retiring her. What is showcase number 2? Well, showcase number 2 is actually going to be a champion that I got recently here, who is probably down towards the bottom of my list, and that is Lysandra. So if you've been inside the game for some time, you know Lysandra, you know Arbiter. These two were essentially the dynamic duo back in the day. You would have like these two, and then you'd have like a decreased defense of some sort. It was probably going to be like maybe a Stag Knight, or if you were lucky, you had Lydia at that point. You know, when we were in the peak speed meta, these were the champions you'd go with. And then you'd have a nuker, obviously, right? What does Lysandra do? Well, on her A3, she has an increased speed, same as Arbiter. Actually, Arbiter doesn't even have the increased speed, she just fills the turn meter. She fills the turn meter, all allies, by 30%, and on top of that, she decreases the turn meter of all enemies by 30%. Now, what's also important about this is for the astute observer in the room, you will notice that Arbiter and Lysandra are in the same faction. And why that's important is because I can use the same gear. So for example, this nice triple roll banner, I can throw that on Lysandra without any sort of an issue. Lysandra also has a speed in all battles by 24% aura, which is one of the strongest auras that you can have as an all battle speed aura. And this is super important. We'll get to why in just 1 second. Lysandra, though, in her kit also has attacks one enemy, fully depletes the target's turn meter. Fantastic, right? And then transferring all debuffs from this champion to the target on her A1 is pretty strong as well. So they both have 110 base speed. I can both get them, you know, just as fast. Lysandra has an all battles speed aura, whereas Arbiter does not. And then Lysandra seems to pop up in the soul shop, at least for me, a lot more than Arbiter, which makes sense. Arbiter's a void legendary, right? Lysandra is also far more likely to be somebody I can get a duplicate champion of, because I'm opening far more primal shards and sacred shards and ancient shards than void shards, right? So it just makes sense. And I don't even think I would empower a duplicate Arbiter if I got one. So the chances of empowerment are just better on Lysandra. That being said, when it comes to awakenings, I also don't have any sort of a high awakening that's really meaningful right now on my Arbiter. So I'm not necessarily losing any sort of awakening by switching. And more importantly, and this is kind of key here, classic PvP and traditional PvP inside Raid Shadow Legends currently is probably one of the most boring things that we have to partake in. So classic arena, like, this is going to be a big comparison, right? So I just finished in Gold 5, the second highest rank that you can place in the entire game, right? The only other one is Platinum, which is what, like the top 500 people at this point, and you have to stay up until like 3 a.m. in my time zone to actually complete it, right? So I finished in the second highest arena that is possible. Let's go and take a look at what we get as a reward for that. This is the reward for my hard work. A bunch of 5-star epic gear and 1 6-star piece, which is right here, which is just, you know, absolute trash, right? So we can go ahead and sell all of this 5-star gear, because if you're in this high of arena, you're probably not using 5-star gear on your champions in the first place. So we'll go ahead and sell that, and we get 1 void shard. Amazing, right? Amazing. Sensational. It's whatever. This is not a video to rag on Classic Arena, but this is a video to showcase how important other areas are. So, again, we come in here to Tag Team Arena. I am now in Tag Team Arena 2, Gold 2, pushing for Gold 3. And if we look at, like, a lot of these Arbiter teams, 6-star Awakened Arbiter, right? So she's going to have massive speed bonus on me. Even, you know, their other champions are, like, super high awakenings, right? It's clear that these guys either got really lucky, or they spend a little bit of cheddar on the game, right? They help keep the servers on at Plarium. 5-star Awakened Arbiter, right? Let's just scroll through this and find some more Arbiter teams. What do we got? 3-star Awakened Arbiter, you know, kind of more in my ballpark. We got 1-star Awakened Arbiter. Okay, this guy's just, you know, trying to make me look like a nutcase here. Let's look at this Arbiter. 4-star Awakened. You get the point. All the Arbiters are a higher awakening than me, even in Tag Team Arena. So, I'm not using my Arbiter in Classic Arena. I'm not using her in Tag Team Arena, and I'm sure as hell not using her in Live Arena. So where do I use her, right? I don't. I looked at my account, and there's not really a place at all that I use my Arbiter currently, because 99% of Classic Arena battles, I'm just using my Taurus and Marichka, because they're far better built, and they have survivability, right? Like, I don't revive with my Arbiter, because it's we go first, we try to kill them, if we don't, we're dead. It's that simple, right? I don't go second with my Arbiter, because I have far better go second champions on my team. So even if I were to build her out in like Stone Skin or something like that, it still doesn't really make sense, for my account at least. So I got thinking about it, and I was like, well, if I'm not really using Arbiter, is my fastest gear best suited to her? And I decided no, it's not. So when I pulled Lysandra, oddly enough, it was a 1+1 legendary event. And I got Lysandra and fucking Rosin Scarhide of all champions. So mainly because of Rosin, I was like, you know, this fucking sucks. I don't want to do this anymore, right? But then I got thinking about it, and I was like, you know what? Lysandra might be actually pretty damn useful. And why is that? Well, that's because of Clan Siege, right? And I don't think a lot of people talk about Siege, and I don't think a lot of people really appreciate how good it actually is. And why is that? Well, if we come in here to, where is it, like Battle Report or something like that, I'm in a Tier 6 clan, which means that I am almost guaranteed, even if we lose, to get a number of pieces of 6-star mythical Feral, which I'm still struggling for Feral set. Like in my most recent video, I just finally built out a Nekmothar in Feral, but getting 6-star mythical pieces guaranteed for, you know, getting a certain amount of points, because we don't even have to win, right? Like, you can see that we absolutely beat this team last time, or this clan, but they still scored 3,900 points and walked away with 6 mythical pieces. That's drops than I got from the weekly arena reset in the second highest tier in the entire game, right? And even if you're not in tier 6, right, because you could argue, well, you're a tier 6 clan, of course you're going to say it's good. In tier 1, you're getting better fucking rewards than you are in Classic Arena Gold 5, right? Because the set is more meta, because for speed sets these days, you want it to be supersonic, or you want it to be, something like that, right? You don't necessarily want traditional speed or divine speed anymore. So having a feral set is more meta, because it also boosts your accuracies, your speed, it gives you a chance to block polymorph, all that sort of good stuff. It boosts your damage on debuffers. Everybody wants this set. So even at tier 1 inside the game, you are guaranteed to get 6-star feral pieces, right? And if you win, you're also getting accessories with it, and you're getting champion fragments for Tiramisu. So it's so important to be participating in this game mode, and for me, it's just way more fun than the classic PvP modes in the game, right? Because I don't have to sit like I do in Live Arena for 10 minutes while people pick their champions, and I know damn well the enemy team's going to pick Armand, Sifi, Marius, and Siegfried, and some other bullshit, because I don't have any of those champions to take for myself. I'm probably going to lose the fight. My win rate is not good in Live Arena, right? All of this is to say that Siege is incredibly important, and this goes back to why Arbiter is being retired, because of Lyssandra's speed aura. There are a lot more champions that are needed inside Siege with an all-battle aura. So, for example, if we look at some of the defenses that are being placed by my clan, most of them don't have a speed aura, right? Which is already super important to consider. Like, we have AZ20 here who's putting in a speed aura that only works in Arena. And I'm not ragging on anybody from my clan, don't get me wrong. I'm just showcasing this because there's not, well, not sure why. You can't really see this. Let me move myself here. I'm not sure why. She should be on here. Like, put Lysandra here. Why is Lysandra in Soul Reed? I'm so confused. Not trash talking, but that team confuses me. Anyways, you can see that there's a lack of auras for all battles, right? So having a 24% increased speed aura for one of the most important modes in the game is super helpful, in my opinion. And that is fundamentally why Arbiter is being replaced, is because she's just been so power crept in the game as a whole. Let me move, oh, not that. Let me move myself back over. She's been power crept in the game as a whole, don't get me wrong. But she's also been absolutely power crept, even on my account, right? Like, if I put wish-listed champions in here, like, do you know how long I've had a wish-listed Ancora and a wish-listed Freya? I don't get enough soul stones to actually really pull any sort of legendaries, because I'm not spending money on soul stones. I mean, it kind of is what it is at the end of the day, and I'm curious anybody else's thoughts on this, but I'm slowly and surely just gravitating away from this whole classic PvP zone, and I'm more so going to be focused on Siege, because Siege seems to be something that I can progress and push myself, and my clan is also pushing themselves, and we're doing very well at it. We're on kind of a win streak, knock on wood, right now inside Siege. And then we also have Chimera coming out, obviously, right? Chimera is now giving us a bunch of new juicy rewards and all those sorts of things. So I just don't have space anymore on my account for a champion, as badass as she might be and as cool as she might be, to just sit here and eat some of my best speed gear on the entire account and not really get anything out of it, right? So I hope this was thought-provoking for, whoever's watching this, and I hope maybe Plarium, some of the devs see this and they say, hey, you know what? We kind of need to do something about this.